Welcome to Empowering Plans, a show dedicated to identifying waste and undue expense in the health benefits industry, discovering ways to maximize benefits while minimizing costs, and empowering employers, administrators, and consultants to emphasize, once again, the benefit in benefit plan. Today's episode is brought to you by the Phia Group, empowering plans since 1999. Now here are your hosts, the Phia Group's own CEO, Adam Russo, and Senior Vice President and General Counsel, Ron Peck.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whenever you're listening to Empowering Plans, we're happy to be there with you. This is the newest episode of the Phia Group's Empowering Plans podcast. It is a very special episode. It's not your traditional health insurance, cost containment, health benefit plan episode. For the insurance nerds out there who, honestly, once a week is not enough for you, I apologize. Go back, listen to some of the old episodes, and maybe you'll catch some Easter eggs you might have missed in the past. But for those of you who are interested in hearing something new and interesting and exciting, we actually have special guests in the studio with us today. This is Ron Peck. I'm actually the only usual, normal, everyday host of Empowering Plans who's sitting in the room with you today. Lucky you. I've actually replaced our other standard, traditional, boring co-hosts with a couple new and exciting individuals here who are here to testify as to some of the exciting events that are happening at the Phia Group today. With me is actually one of the Phia Group's veterans, a longtime member of the team, and somebody who really spearheads all of our efforts as an organization outside the traditional services that we offer. As a member of the community, as someone who participates in society for greater good, we have with us Regina. Regina, if you want to just introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Regina here.
Wow, that's your resume? Nice, I like it. But like I was saying, Regina, she's the one who really, she organizes our work, for instance, with the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of the charity events that we do, when we have our day where we close the office and do charity work. You know, Regina, again, is the one who always organizes it, and also just a lot of the other stuff, day-to-day stuff that goes on around the office, food drives, clothing drives, contests, you know, it's all Regina who drives it. So honestly, she's the one who takes us from just a boring, dry organization and makes us into a real contributor in our community. So, Regina, I want to thank you for that. And one of the campaigns that Regina has been spearheaded again today is the blood drive, which I know we've mentioned in previous episodes that we're doing. And I'm very fortunate to be joined today by Matthew, who is a member of the Red Cross and is going to tell us a little bit about himself, his role particularly with the blood drive, blood collection, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on and why this is so important. So thank you for being with us, man.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you having me in today, and it's great to speak with everyone. I want to first and foremost thank everyone at the Phia Group for including me today, but also reaching out to the American Red Cross and wanting to help support our mission, specifically by sponsoring a blood drive for your employees. We are so grateful for that partnership, and it sounds like you do a lot of great things with other groups in the area, and that's awesome, and we're grateful that you were able to include us in that as well, because we certainly need your support. My name is Matt Belanger. I am my official title is a donor recruitment account manager. So what does that really mean? It means that I have the pleasure of working with all kinds of different sponsoring groups to arrange and plan and organize and execute blood drives. So sometimes it's businesses like yourself. Sometimes it's community groups, civic organizations, churches, high schools, colleges, you name it. Anyone that really wants to partner with the American Red Cross to host a blood drive, that's who I'll be working with in order to do that. So, really what you're doing today, and I can't stress this enough, is a really special thing that you're actually helping to save lives by doing what you're doing today. Every day, 7 days a week, our organization, the American Red Cross, needs to collect approximately 14,000 pints of blood in order to meet the needs of the hospitals that count on us to provide that life-saving blood for their patients. So, you can imagine that's a big task. So without the partnership of folks like yourself that are willing to say, hey, we want to sponsor something. And not only that, we have folks here that want to roll up their sleeves and donate. That's it's a really great thing.
It's really important that you bring that up and the fact that there is this great need. And there are a lot of things these days that we've replaced the person-to-person relationship or the personal on-site involvement necessary with virtual involvement, right? So whether it's communicating face-to-face, well, now I could just text and email, right? Or delivering packages or mail or, having meetings, right? Virtual meetings are, not to the degree we thought they would, but they've replaced sort of the in-person meeting. And then you have something like this where, honestly, you cannot replace actual blood collection, which needs to be there physically with the person, with something virtual. But I mean, we have your crew and your tools here on site so that people in the area can come and physically be there to give blood. But unlike emails and conference calls and webinars and, dare I say it, podcasts, which you don't need to be there, we need people to actually be here. What can our audience do? They're far away, right? They can't be here for this. What can they do to help?
Well, that's a great question. And, just to kind of echo some of the things that you were saying, it's important to realize that there is no substitute for human blood donations. It cannot be manufactured in a laboratory or a factory. There are no, artificial replacements, and it does have a limited shelf life. So that's why the need is constant. But there are ways that people can help if you're not here today. And one of the ways, if you're listening and you're wanting to donate blood but just don't know how, go visit redcrossblood.org and just type in your zip code, and you will find a number of blood drives in your area that you can stop by and donate at. They're open to the public. And you might also have a Red Cross blood donor center near you as well, and that's also a great place where you can donate blood or even platelets or plasma as well.
Fantastic.
So,
great information. It's interesting because I remember, unfortunately, it's been a few years now, but September 11th, 2001, a tragedy, a lot of people injured, a great need for blood. And that great need kind of coincided with this burst in patriotism, and people they see this horror and they want to do something. And so you see a spike in blood donors. And then, as with all things, that kind of drive, that passion, it starts to peter out a little, and then it's back to status quo. And one of the things that I always thought was fascinating is, yes, sort of the aftermath of an event like that, there is a continued need for blood. So it's great that there's this spike. But I have to imagine that the moment some sort of catastrophic event like that takes place, there's a need for blood right there and then. You have victims who need blood right there and then. They can't wait for people to say, oh, this is awful, I feel like I need to do something. They needed people to feel that way weeks before the event actually happened. So is that sort of something that you guys have to deal with? How do you keep that passion going 24/7?
It is a challenge, and we're so grateful for our regular donors. I mean, one of the great things about what I do is I get to meet a lot of blood donors, and I've always been in amazement when I see how many pints and gallons that these people have donated over the course of their lives. Some of these people started when they're in high school and they're 50, 60, 70 years old, and they've donated on a regular basis. So it really is amazing. It's always, I think, a challenge just to make sure that people understand that the need is, ongoing. It's always there. And, we have an expression that we utilize a lot, and it's to remind people that it's the blood on the shelves today that's saving lives today. Mm-hmm. And just, stop and think about that for a second. But we're grateful when people are moved by things that are in the news and they want to help. And a lot of these people do make it, part of their life on a regular basis when they can. And sometimes there's even, those people that, maybe attempt to donate blood and it's just not something they're able to do, but there's other ways that they're moved to action to help.
Fantastic. So, one of the things when you look at blood donation, one of the key issues you need to know is your blood type. And there may be a lot of people who actually don't know what their blood type is, and I assume that's important information to know, not just for donating, but in case you need. What are some ways people can go and actually find out what their blood type is?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the kind of secondary benefits, if you will, of donating blood, aside from being able to potentially save up to 3 lives through your donation, is that if you don't know your blood type, you will find out your blood type.
Hey, there you go, huh?
So that's an extra kind of bonus right there. So I think everyone should know their blood type, but unfortunately, it's not a test that's routinely performed unless it's needed. So this is a great way for people to find out their blood type. And I just want to also, while I'm chatting with you, wanted to mention that lots of times we were talking about tragedies and people sometimes are moved to action. And I always try to remind my sponsors that there's some very common everyday needs of why people might need a blood transfusion. And so something, for example, something as simple as childbirth that could warrant the need for a blood transfusion. Somebody that's undergoing cancer treatment, maybe their platelets have been depleted because of the cancer treatment and they need blood therapy on a regular basis. Maybe somebody's had a really challenging surgery and they've lost a lot of blood and they need blood replacement. So these are things that, that are happening every day, not just, tragedies, accidents, things like that. It's just common everyday occurrences of why people might be needing blood. And, again, every 2 seconds, someone in this country needs blood. So the need is there.
It's really interesting you bring that up and sort of tying it into a little bit of what we do here. Sensationalism, right? That out of the norm event, fact pattern story is what really grabs the headlines and I think draws attention to things. Even in our own industry, you'll have a situation where, let's say, some drug manufacturer was charging, a 10,000% markup, and then it's discovered, and now the Department of Insurance is pursuing a lawsuit against them, and it's in the news, right? Remember with the EpiPens, for instance, is an example. Oh, it's in the news, and everyone's outraged and suddenly paying attention to medical bills, and these things are important. But it's that every day, $50 here, $100 there that you're wasting, that it doesn't draw your attention because it lacks that sensationalism. And yet, over time, it builds up and ends up being equal to or greater than those 1 or 2 really drastic events. And it's the same for you where, and you make a great point, there's some sort of an act of God, right? There's an earthquake and there's this sudden spike in need. But that spike, compared to just this everyday need, it doesn't even compare, and yet it draws so much attention. So being able to, I think, keep people engaged, involved, and wanting to help in order to address the day-to-day need instead of waiting for something terrible to happen to get people interested seems like a really great challenge, and I admire the work you do to keep that interest there.
Really appreciate it. We couldn't do it without our volunteers and our friends and people that contribute to us. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening that are saying, gee, I'd like to donate blood, but, unfortunately I can't for, a number of reasons. And I understand that. I mean, in fact, less than 40% of the population is even eligible to donate blood. So you're dealing with a lot of people that might want to do this, but they can't. And that's okay, but there's other ways that they can help. I always encourage people, if you want to partner with the Red Cross and you're not able to donate blood, check out our national website, just redcross.org, and you can learn all about a whole host of volunteer opportunities that are available, whether it's being part of our disaster services, getting trained in that, being part of our service to the armed forces, getting trained in life-saving CPR or, first aid and things like that. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that people can still partner and support with the American Red Cross.
So speaking of additional ways that you can help and things you can do, Regina, I know you wanted to comment a little bit about that.
Right. We actually had somebody from the Red Cross come to Phia to train a decent group from Phia on how to do first aid, CPR, the defibrillator. So we're all certified on that now. So that was pretty cool.
And that's, if unfortunately, if you ever need that, every second counts. So the fact that, you have a workplace where people are not only doing their job, but they have these skills that can help to potentially save someone's life until help can arrive. That's a great thing. So,
and the great thing about it too, it wasn't like a class where you have to go multiple times. It was, I don't remember how long it was, a few hours tops. So a few hours could save a life if you know how to do those things.
That's so true. People think that, I'm going to have to, spend days and weeks taking this training. That's not the case, to learn basic life-saving skills. So that's another great thing that the Red Cross does, is provide all kinds of different training out there. We talked about, basic first aid, AED that you mentioned, CPR. Yep. They also offer aquatics training, babysitter training, just all kinds of different things, even, pet CPR and things like that. I mean, there's all kinds of training that the Red Cross offers.
Well, there's pet insurance, so Lord knows there should be pet CPR too. So speaking of donating blood with the Red Cross and the Phia Group's efforts in that regard, I'm actually joined now by some members of the Phia Group team that are donating blood, that have donated blood as part of this blood drive at the Phia Group. Guys, if you don't mind, we can start with you, Toussaint, and just kind of go around the table, just quickly introduce yourselves, let the people know who you are and what you do here at the Phia Group.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. This is Toussaint Anderson. I am the PDM project manager. So PDM is our Phia document software, so I kind of oversee all of that material.
Cool. My name is Earl Menz, and I work in the overpayment specialist department, and I take care of overpayment claims.
Hi, folks. This is Trevor Schramm, your sales and accounts coordinator here. Might have seen an email or two from me at some point in time. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Ron.
If you haven't seen Trevor's emails, please check your spam folder. It's probably there. But you okay, Trevor? You look like you're going to pass out a little. You feeling all right?
A little lightheaded.
A little lightheaded. Keep drinking the juice, man. Keep drinking the juice. So, these guys are just some of the Phia Group heroes that donated blood today. And, I would actually like to just ask you guys a couple questions, about what drove you to do this and your experience. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get the people who normally tune in and listen to us to talk about ways to contain costs for benefit plans. This is a completely different topic, and we're trying to inspire them, instead of containing costs for their plan, instead to go out and actually do something to help the Red Cross. And hopefully you can inspire them a little bit to take action as well. So, Toussaint, why did you decide to donate blood today?
Well, when I was looking up on the Red Cross website, I didn't realize that your blood can go to help at least 3 people. I thought it was like one person, and they were telling us that when the guy came in to let everyone know about the setup and everything, he was letting us know that there's actually an app that they have, so you can actually track where your blood goes. So it's not just like you donate and you just never know what happens to it. Like you can actually, you'll know if someone uses your blood. So
that's like one of those things where you adopt a kid in some third world country and they send you like pictures of them growing up, and they're like, "Oh, this is your kid."
This is where your 8 cents a day is going. But no,
Nice.
it's pretty awesome because now I can actually see on the app that I have on my phone now. I can actually track when my blood is actually used. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is cool, and it's interesting. It's funny because you're all about your ROI. You're like, when it was a 1-to-1 ratio, it might as well just stay in me.
Yep.
But if you tell me I can triple my returns,
exactly.
done.
It's all about investing in the future.
Buy and sell. So it's the stock market of blood, and
Yep.
you're tracking it on your phone like E-Trade. That's fantastic stuff, man. Earl, what about you?
My story, I have actually 2 stories about the reasons why I gave blood. The first reason is because I actually gave blood a few years prior, and I found out that I have a special type of blood. So they were like, hey, there's an option to actually do Power Red with this special blood type.
Power Red, stop. Are you like a superhero? Were you bitten by some sort of radioactive Kool-Aid man and now you're a superhero?
I kind of feel like that sometimes. During the test, I felt very energized. No, I'm playing. But also the other reason that I'm actually into, donating blood is because my grandmother suffers from actually blood thinning issues with blood clotting. So that was a big reason why I wanted to do it.
That's huge, yeah. Trevor.
Sure. Yeah, so I actually, this was my brainchild, I guess you could say, doing the Red Cross, inviting them over here to the Phia Group today. But yeah, our Explore team worked on it for a little bit. I originally got the idea from The Office. I don't know if anybody out there listening has seen that episode where the Red Cross truck comes to the office park and Michael Scott finds like the love of his life, but he passes out before he finishes giving blood, so he can never find her again. Classic episode.
Great
It was
episode.
very inspiring for us in this effort.
So bottom line is you were looking at this as an opportunity to find a girlfriend? Is that am I hearing this right?
or just live out my favorite show of all time in my own reality.
This is
So
your favorite show.
This was my version, yeah.
So if you feel like you can transfer what you saw on TV to The Office here, do you see a lot of other parallels?
Oh my gosh. We need another podcast hour just for that.
All right, so
alone.
the Phia
How
Office.
The Phia Group is The Office.
Nice.
yes,
Hopefully
yes.
you've got an okay character lined up for me. I
I
don't
got
drive
you
a
pegged.
Camaro
I
or
got
have
you
a beet
pegged.
farm, so okay. So guys, I guess at this point I don't want to take up too much of your time, especially I don't need you fainting in the podcast room and then I have to carry you out of here without busting up the equipment. Pat will never forgive me. Is there any sort of parting words of encouragement? I think a lot of people they worry that maybe they can't do it. They're worried maybe about the needle, or they're a little nervous. Just something to encourage people to take that step and actually go out and take action.
Yeah. So this was actually my first time giving blood outside of, mandatory in a doctor's office. So I was a little nervous going in, and there's definitely that anxiety of, the needle and the finger prick and all that good stuff. But really, that's the biggest challenge. And, once you do it, that, knowing that it's going to 3 people at least to help them out, and the fact that you can track it as well, I think is really engaging, and it helps you see, like you were saying, Ron, the return on what you're actually giving. So it was a great experience. I would definitely recommend it to anyone, and I'll probably be doing it again.
Awesome. Earl?
Yeah, definitely. I think nerves were really high before actually donating blood, but I feel like the staff was really good with, calming everyone down and making sure everything was done properly. So that was really good about it.
Toussaint?
Yeah, on where I was saying, the staff was great. They were very personable, very friendly. They make you feel very welcome. So that's one very good thing about the Red Cross. And I've given blood before, so none of this was new to me. So they're like going through the questionnaire, and I'm like, yeah, I've done all this before. And it's super simple now, because before you would have to sit there with them for 15 to 20 minutes. But now you can do everything. I think it's called a rapid pass. You can do all that stuff before you actually go down there. So the sign-in and the prep process is like 5 minutes now, as opposed to 15. So it's super simple.
Awesome.
But I would recommend that everyone goes out and donate if you can.
Man.
We had a bunch of girls here that actually they were pretty afraid, because a lot of them were afraid of the needles, and come to find a lot of them couldn't donate because they had smaller kind of veins, but they were still willing to participate. They were all holding each other's hands, and they were down there huddled up, but they were just like, oh man, a lot of people were like that couldn't donate. They were very not discouraged, but they still wanted to do something. So they were just kind of hanging out down there, giving encouragement to other employees to donate.
Yeah,
so it's
I
great.
think that's one of the themes that I've been talking to Matt from Red Cross about, is that even if you don't meet all the qualifications, let's say you've been outside the country, or like you said, for some of the female team members, they don't have the right body mass, that they simply can't donate physically, there are still other things you can do to help out, and I think that's huge as well. So I guess I'll let you guys go, but the one thing I want to say is I'm very disappointed you told me about this whole blood tracking thing, because I actually knew about Earl's Superpower Red Ultimate Blood. I was actually going to sneak into the truck and steal it and sell it on the black market, because I hear Power Red's going for big bucks. But now I know, just like LoJack or whatever, you guys are going to track me as I drive over the border, the Connecticut border with your Power,
See it everywhere.
your high C or whatever it is. So
High C.
guys, the Ecto Cooler, right?
Oh, negative.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, I really appreciate everything you did. I know that other people who you've helped are going to appreciate what you did, and thank you so much on behalf of the company and myself personally, and on behalf of our listeners. You guys are heroes. So thank you so much, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
For sure.
So, Matt, Regina, I really appreciate you guys coming into studio today. More importantly, I very much thank you and appreciate what you're doing. It's funny because at the Phia Group, we like to say that, we're empowering plans and we're helping to improve people's lives, but you're actually saving lives. And for better or worse, I can't say that that's something I do every day, but it is something you do every day, and I really, really appreciate your effort, what you're doing, and I thank you on behalf of myself, on behalf of the Phia Group, and on behalf of our listeners. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much again for having me in today.
So, everyone, that is the end of our special edition of Empowering Plans. Don't worry, next week we will be back to some of the dry insurance talk. But in the meantime, please log in to the website. Please discover ways that you can help and take some action. Don't be a bystander. Thank you again for myself, for the other hosts, for our special guests, and of course, most importantly, Pat, our producer. Thank you, and continue to empower those plans.